Chapter 1. The Last Hope. The alarm blared through the corridors of the starship Celestia as Captain Lena Hawkins rushed to the bridge. She knew something was wrong, terribly wrong. As she burst onto the bridge, her crew was already at their stations, faces tense with anticipation. "Report," Lena demanded, taking her seat in the captain's chair. "Captain, we've picked up an unusual energy signature at the edge of the Andromeda Galaxy," Lieutenant Commander Xander Reeves replied, his fingers flying across the helm controls. "It's unlike anything we've ever seen before." Lena frowned, leaning forward to study the viewscreen. The Celestia had been tasked with a mission of utmost importance, to find a new home for humanity. Earth had been devastated by a series of catastrophic events, leaving the planet uninhabitable. The Celestia, equipped with state-of-the-art technology and a hand-picked crew, was humanity's last hope. "Set a course for the energy signature," Lena ordered. "We need to investigate." As the Celestia approached the source of the energy, the ship suddenly shuddered violently. Alarms blared once more as the crew struggled to maintain control. "Captain, we're caught in some kind of gravitational anomaly," Xander shouted over the chaos. "It's pulling us in." Lena gripped the armrests of her chair, her knuckles turning white. "All hands, brace for impact!" The Celestia plunged into the anomaly, and everything went black. Lena felt a searing pain in her head, and then nothing. When she regained consciousness, Lena found herself on the floor of the bridge. Emergency lights cast an eerie glow over the damaged consoles and injured crew members. She struggled to her feet, assessing the situation. "Damage report," she croaked, her throat raw from the smoke filling the air. "Hull breach on decks 4 and 5, Commander Alara Vance replied, coughing. "Warp drive is offline. Life support is stable for now, but we're running on auxiliary power." Lena closed her eyes briefly, the weight of the situation settling upon her shoulders. They were stranded in an unknown part of space, far from any known civilization, with a damaged ship and limited resources. Suddenly, the view screen flickered to life, and an alien face appeared. It was unlike any species they had encountered before, with shimmering, iridescent skin and eyes that glowed with an otherworldly light. "You have trespassed into our domain," the alien spoke, its voice resonating through the bridge. "You will be judged for your intrusion." Lena stepped forward, squaring her shoulders. "I am Captain Lena Hawkins of the starship Celestia. We mean you no harm. We are explorers, seeking a new home for our people." The alien regarded her coldly. "Your intentions are irrelevant. You will face the consequences of your actions." With those ominous words, the transmission cut off, leaving the crew in stunned silence. Lena turned to face her crew, determination etched onto her face. "We've come too far to fail now," she said, her voice steady. "We will find a way out of this, and we will complete our mission. For Earth. For humanity." The crew nodded solemnly, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. The Celestia's journey had only just begun. Chapter 2. Judgment Day. The Celestia hung suspended in the void, caught in the grasp of the alien species' advanced technology. Captain Lena Hawkins paced the bridge, her mind racing as she sought a way out of their predicament. The crew worked tirelessly to repair the damaged systems, but progress was slow. "Captain, we're being hailed," Alara Vance reported, her brow furrowed. "It's the aliens." Lena nodded grimly. "On screen." The view screen flickered to life, revealing the same iridescent-skinned alien from before. Its eyes bore into Lena, filled with an unfathomable depth of knowledge and power. "Captain Lena Hawkins," the alien began, its voice echoing through the bridge. "You and your crew have been found guilty of trespassing. As punishment, you will be brought before our council to face judgment." Lena stepped forward, her chin raised defiantly. "We request the opportunity to present our case. Our mission is one of survival, not aggression. The alien tilted its head, considering her words. Very well. You will be escorted to the council chambers. But know this, Captain. Our judgment is final. As the transmission ended, Lena turned to her crew. I need options. We can't let this be the end of our mission. Xander Reeves spoke up, his voice filled with determination. Captain, if we can find a way to bypass their tractor beam, we might be able to make a run for it. It's risky, but it could be our only chance. Lena nodded. Get on it, Xander. Elara, I need you to gather any information you can about these aliens and their technology. We need to be prepared for whatever awaits us. As the crew set to work, the Celestia was suddenly jolted by an unseen force. The ship began to move, pulled inexorably towards the alien council's location. Lena gripped the armrests of her chair, her heart pounding in her chest. The journey seemed to last an eternity, the crew working feverishly to find a way out of their predicament. Finally, the Celestia came to a halt, hovering before a massive, gleaming structure that seemed to defy the laws of physics. We've arrived, Elara announced, her voice tinged with awe and trepidation. Lena rose from her chair, straightening her uniform. It's time. Xander, Elara, you're with me. The rest of you, stay sharp. We don't know what we're walking into. As the away team made their way to the transporter room, Lena couldn't shake the feeling that their fate hung in the balance. The weight of humanity's future rested on her shoulders, and she was determined not to let them down. The transporter beam engulfed them, and they materialized in a vast, cavernous chamber. Towering alien figures surrounded them, their faces inscrutable, and their eyes filled with an ancient wisdom. Step forward, Captain Lena Hawkins, a booming voice commanded. Your judgment awaits. Lena took a deep breath, steeling herself for the trial ahead. She knew that the fate of her crew, her ship, and all of humanity depended on her next words and actions. The Celestia's Odyssey had reached a critical juncture, and failure was not an option. Chapter 3. The Council's Judgment. Lena, Xander, and Elara found themselves standing before the alien council, their hearts pounding with a mixture of fear and determination. The chamber was vast and imposing, with towering walls that seemed to stretch into infinity. The council members were seated on elevated platforms, their faces obscured by shimmering veils that pulsed with an otherworldly energy. The leader of the council, a tall and slender being with eyes that glowed like miniature suns, spoke in a voice that resonated through the chamber. Captain Lena Hawkins, you stand accused of trespassing in our domain. What have you to say in your defense? Lena stepped forward, her voice steady, despite the overwhelming presence of the council. Esteemed council members, we come to you not as conquerors or aggressors, but as a species fighting for survival. Our home, Earth, has become uninhabitable, and we are seeking a new world to call our own. We had no intention of trespassing in your territory and humbly request your understanding and mercy. The council members murmured among themselves, their whispers echoing through the chamber like the rustling of ancient leaves. Finally, the leader spoke again. Your plea has been heard, Captain Hawkins. However, our laws are clear. Trespassing is a grave offense, and the consequences must be faced. Xander stepped forward, his eyes narrowed. With all due respect, we have the right to defend ourselves. We are not a threat to you or your people. We simply wish to continue our mission and find a new home. The leader's eyes flashed with a dangerous light. You presume much, human. Our technology and power far surpass your own. You are in no position to make demands. Elara, who had been quietly observing the exchange, spoke up. If I may, esteemed council members, perhaps there is a way for us to reach a mutually beneficial agreement. Our ship, the Celestia, is equipped with advanced technology and knowledge from our world. We would be willing to share this knowledge with you in exchange for safe passage through your territory and assistance in finding a suitable planet to colonize. The council members exchanged glances, their veils shimmering with an unreadable emotion. The leader leaned forward, its voice low and measured. "Your proposal is intriguing, Alara Vance. We will consider it. In the meantime, you and your crew will be held in a secure location until we have reached a decision. Guards, escort them to the holding cells." As the guards surrounded them, Lena caught Xander's eye, a silent communication passing between them. They had to find a way out of this situation, but for now, they had no choice but to comply with the council's orders. The holding cells were unlike anything they had ever seen before. The walls were made of a shimmering, translucent material that seemed to pulse with a life of its own. Lena paced the cell, her mind racing with possibilities. "We need to find a way to convince them to let us go," she said, her voice low and urgent. "Alara's proposal bought us some time, but we can't rely on their mercy." Xander nodded, his brow furrowed in thought. "I might have an idea. When we were in the council chambers, I noticed a strange energy signature coming from one of the platforms. If I can find a way to access it, we might be able to use it to our advantage." Lena's eyes widened. "Do you think you can do it?" Xander grinned, a glint of mischief in his eyes. "I'm willing to try, but we'll need a distraction." As they began to formulate a plan, the fate of the Celestia and all of humanity hung in the balance. The Council's judgment would determine the course of their mission and the future of their species. Lena knew that failure was not an option. They had to succeed, no matter the cost. Chapter 4. A Glimmer of Hope. The holding cells were a stark contrast to the grandeur of the council chambers. The air was thick with a sense of despair, and the crew of the Celestia found themselves grappling with the uncertainty of their fate. Lena paced the cell, her mind racing as she tried to formulate a plan. She knew that they had to find a way out of this situation, but the odds seemed insurmountable. Xander's revelation about the strange energy signature in the council chambers had given them a glimmer of hope. If they could find a way to access it, they might be able to use it to their advantage. But first, they needed to find a way out of the holding cells. Alara, who had been sitting quietly in the corner of the cell, suddenly spoke up. "I think I might have an idea," she said, her voice low and urgent. "When we were being escorted to the cells, I noticed a panel on the wall that looked different from the others. It had a strange symbol on it, almost like a keyhole." Lena's eyes widened. "Do you think it could be a way out?" Alara nodded. "It's worth a try, but we'll need to be careful. We don't know what kind of security measures they have in place." Xander grinned, a glint of mischief in his eyes. "Leave that to me. I've got a few tricks up my sleeve." As they began to formulate a plan, the sound of footsteps echoed through the hallway outside the cell. The crew fell silent, their hearts pounding as they waited to see who would appear. To their surprise, it was the leader of the council, flanked by 2 guards. The leader's eyes glowed with an intense light as it regarded the crew through the shimmering wall of the cell. "Captain Lena Hawkins," the leader said, its voice resonating through the cell. "The council has considered your proposal and has reached a decision." Lena stepped forward, her chin held high. "And what is that decision?" The leader's eyes narrowed. "We have decided to grant you safe passage through our territory, on one condition. You must prove your worth by completing a task for us." Lena's heart sank. She knew that whatever task the council had in mind would not be easy, but she also knew that they had no choice but to accept. "What is this task?" she asked, her voice steady despite the fear that gnawed at her insides. The leader's lips curled into a smile that sent shivers down Lena's spine. "You must retrieve an artifact from a planet on the edge of our territory. This artifact is of great importance to our people, and we have been unable to retrieve it ourselves due to the dangers that lie in wait on the planet's surface." Lena exchanged a glance with her crew, a silent agreement passing between them. They knew that this task would be dangerous, but they also knew that it was their only chance at freedom. "We accept your challenge," Lena said, her voice ringing with determination. "But we will need our ship and our weapons to complete this task." The leader nodded. "Very well. You will be granted access to your ship and your weapons. But be warned, Captain Hawkins. If you fail in this task, the consequences will be severe." As the leader and the guards turned to leave, Lena felt a sense of hope rising within her. They had a chance, however slim, to prove their worth and earn their freedom. And with Xander's plan to access the strange energy signature in the council chambers, they might just have a fighting chance. The crew of the Celestia had faced many challenges on their journey through the stars, but none quite like this. With the fate of humanity resting on their shoulders, they knew that failure was not an option. They had to succeed, no matter the cost. Chapter 5. The Perilous Quest. The crew of the Celestia wasted no time in preparing for their perilous quest. As soon as they were granted access to their ship, they set about making the necessary repairs and gathering the equipment they would need to survive on the hostile planet. Lena stood on the bridge, her eyes fixed on the view screen as the alien council's massive structure loomed before them. She knew that they were being watched, their every move scrutinized by the powerful beings who held their fate in their hands. "Xander, have you made any progress on accessing that energy signature?" she asked, her voice low and urgent. Xander looked up from his console, a grin spreading across his face. "I think I've got it, Captain. It's a long shot, but if we can tap into that energy source, it might give us the boost we need to get out of here if things go south." Lena nodded, a sense of relief washing over her. "Good work, Xander. Keep at it, but be careful. We don't want to raise any suspicions." As the crew made their final preparations, Ilara pulled up the information they had been given about the planet they were to visit. The images on the screen were grainy and distorted, but one thing was clear. The planet was a dangerous place, with treacherous terrain and unpredictable weather patterns. "It looks like we'll need to land on the far side of the planet," Ilara said, her brow furrowed in concentration. "The artifact is located in a cave system deep underground, and that's the only way in." Lena took a deep breath, steeling herself for the challenge ahead. "All right, let's do this. Xander, keep working on that energy signature. Ilara, plot a course for the planet. We'll need to be ready for anything." As the Celestia entered the planet's atmosphere, the crew braced themselves for the turbulence that rocked the ship. The planet's surface was a swirling mass of colors, with jagged peaks and deep crevasses that seemed to stretch on forever. Lena gripped the arms of her chair as the ship touched down on a rocky outcropping, the landing gear groaning under the strain. "All right, everyone, this is it. Suit up and be ready to move out in 5. The crew quickly donned their protective gear and gathered their weapons, their faces grim with determination. They knew that the fate of humanity rested on their shoulders, and they would stop at nothing to complete their mission. As they stepped out onto the planet's surface, the wind whipped around them, sending clouds of dust and debris swirling through the air. The cave entrance loomed before them, a gaping maw that seemed to swallow the light. Lena took a deep breath, her heart pounding in her chest. "Let's move out," she said, her voice steady despite the fear that gnawed at her insides. "Stay close and keep your eyes open. We don't know what we're going to find down there." With Xander and Ilara by her side, Lena led the way into the cave, the darkness enveloping them as they descended deeper into the planet's depths. They had no idea what lay ahead, but they knew that they had no choice but to press on, to find the artifact and prove their worth to the alien council. As they moved deeper into the cave system, the crew couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched, that something was lurking in the shadows, waiting to strike. But they pushed forward, their determination unwavering in the face of the unknown. The fate of the Celestia and all of humanity hung in the balance, and the crew knew that they would stop at nothing to succeed. They had come too far to turn back now, and they would face whatever challenges lay ahead with courage and resilience, no matter the cost. Chapter 6. Into the Depths. The crew of the Celestia ventured deeper into the cave system, their headlamps casting eerie shadows on the jagged walls. The air grew colder and damper with each step, and the sound of their footsteps echoed through the narrow passages. Lena led the way, her eyes scanning the surroundings for any sign of the artifact or potential threats. Xander followed closely behind, his hand resting on the hilt of his blaster, ready to draw at a moment's notice. Alara brought up the rear, her attention divided between monitoring the cave's structure and keeping an eye on their digital map. As they rounded a corner, a low rumble reverberated through the cave, causing loose rocks to tumble from the walls. The crew froze, their hearts pounding in their chests as they waited for the tremor to pass.
"What was that?"
Alara whispered, her voice tight with fear. "Probably just a minor seismic event," Lena replied, trying to sound more confident than she felt. "We need to keep moving." The crew pressed on, the tension in the air growing thicker with each passing minute. Suddenly, Xander held up a hand, signaling for the others to stop. "Do you hear that?" he asked, his brow furrowed in concentration. Lena and Alara strained their ears, trying to pick up on the sound that had caught Xander's attention. It was faint at first, but as they listened more closely, they could make out a low, rhythmic pulsing, almost like the beating of a giant heart. "What could be making that noise?" Alara wondered aloud, her eyes wide with a mixture of curiosity and apprehension. "I don't know," Lena admitted. "But it seems to be coming from up ahead. We need to be cautious." The crew crept forward, the pulsing sound growing louder and more distinct with each step. As they rounded another corner, they found themselves standing at the entrance to a vast chamber, the likes of which they had never seen before. The chamber was illuminated by an eerie, pulsing blue light that seemed to emanate from the walls themselves. In the center of the room stood a towering structure, its surface covered in intricate carvings and glowing symbols that shifted and changed before their eyes. "That must be it," Lena breathed, her gaze fixed on the structure. "The artifact we've been sent to retrieve." But as the crew took a step forward, a shadow detached itself from the walls and lunged towards them, its form shifting and changing with each movement. Xander drew his blaster, firing off a shot that ricocheted harmlessly off the creature's hide. "Back!" Lena shouted, her heart hammering in her chest as she realized the gravity of their situation. "We need to regroup and come up with a plan." The crew retreated, the creature's haunting cries echoing through the chamber as they fled. They knew that they had to find a way to retrieve the artifact, but with an unknown and terrifying adversary standing in their way, the task seemed more daunting than ever. As they huddled together in a narrow passageway, catching their breath and trying to calm their racing hearts, Lena knew that they were in for the fight of their lives. But she also knew that they had no choice but to press on, to find a way to overcome the challenges that lay ahead and complete their mission, no matter the cost. The fate of the Celestia and all of humanity rested on their shoulders, and they would not let them down. With grim determination, the crew prepared to face the unknown, ready to do whatever it took to secure the artifact and prove their worth to the Alien Council. Chapter 7. The Creature from the Shadows. The crew huddled together in the narrow passageway, their breathing ragged as they tried to process what they had just encountered. The creature's haunting cries still echoed in their ears, a chilling reminder of the danger that lurked in the shadows. "What was that thing?" Alara asked, her voice trembling slightly. "I don't know," Lena replied, her brow furrowed in concentration. "But it's clear that we're not alone down here." Xander leaned against the wall, his blaster still gripped tightly in his hand. "Our weapons were useless against it," he said, frustration evident in his tone. "We need to find another way to get past that creature and retrieve the artifact." Lena nodded, her mind racing as she tried to formulate a plan. "Elara, do you think you could analyze the creature's behavior and find a weakness we could exploit?" Ilara's eyes widened at the suggestion, but she nodded determinedly. "I can try," she said, pulling out her portable scanner and tapping away at the screen. As Ilara worked, Lena and Xander kept watch, their senses on high alert for any sign of the creature's return. The pulsing sound from the chamber continued, a constant reminder of the artifact that lay just out of reach. "I think I've got something," Ilara said suddenly, her voice filled with a mix of excitement and trepidation. "The creature seems to be sensitive to high-frequency sound waves. If we could generate a strong enough pulse, it might be enough to stun it long enough for us to get past." Lena's eyes lit up at the revelation. "That's brilliant, Ilara," she said, a smile tugging at the corners of her mouth. "Xander, do you think you could rig up a sonic emitter using the equipment we have on hand?" Xander grinned, already reaching for his toolkit. "Give me 10 minutes and I'll have something that'll make that creature wish it had never crossed paths with the crew of the Celestia." As Xander worked, Lena and Ilara kept watch, their nerves on edge as they waited for the creature to make another appearance. But the passageway remained quiet, the only sound the soft hum of Xander's tools and the distant pulsing from the chamber. Finally, Xander held up a small, cylindrical device, a triumphant grin on his face. "One sonic emitter, ready to go," he said, handing the device to Lena. Lena took the emitter, her grip tightening around its smooth surface. "All right, crew," she said, her voice steady and determined. "Let's get that artifact and show that council what humanity is capable of." With renewed purpose, the crew made their way back towards the chamber, the sonic emitter held at the ready. As they entered the room, the creature detached itself from the shadows once more, its form shifting and changing as it prepared to strike. But this time, they were ready. Lena activated the sonic emitter, and a high-pitched whine filled the air, causing the creature to recoil in pain. The crew seized their opportunity, rushing forward towards the artifact as the creature writhed and thrashed behind them. Xander reached the structure first, his hands moving over its surface as he searched for a way to remove the artifact. Suddenly, a panel slid open, revealing a small, glowing orb nestled within. "I've got it!" Xander shouted, his voice filled with triumph as he pulled the orb from its resting place. But their victory was short-lived. As Xander turned to rejoin the others, the creature let out a deafening roar, its form expanding and shifting until it towered over them, its eyes glowing with malevolent intent. The crew froze, their hearts pounding, as they realized the true nature of the challenge that lay before them. They had the artifact, but now they had to find a way to escape the creature's wrath and make it back to the Celestia in one piece. With the fate of humanity hanging in the balance, the crew of the Celestia prepared to face their greatest test yet, knowing that failure was not an option. They had come too far to turn back now, and they would stop at nothing to complete their mission and secure a future for their people among the stars. Chapter 8. Escape from the Depths. The creature's roar reverberated through the chamber, shaking the very foundations of the ancient structure. Its form had transformed into something even more terrifying, its eyes blazing with a fiery intensity that sent shivers down the crew's spines. Lena gripped the sonic emitter tightly, her knuckles turning white. "We need to get out of here now!" she shouted over the creature's deafening cries. Xander clutched the glowing orb to his chest, his eyes darting around the room in search of an escape route. "There!" he yelled, pointing to a narrow opening in the far wall. "That might be our only way out." Without hesitation, the crew sprinted towards the opening, the creature's thunderous footsteps echoing behind them. Ilara stumbled, her foot catching on a loose stone, but Lena grabbed her arm and hauled her forward, refusing to leave anyone behind. As they neared the opening, the creature lashed out with a massive clawed appendage, narrowly missing Xander's head. Lena spun around, aiming the sonic emitter at the creature and activating it once more. The high-pitched whine filled the air, and the creature reeled back, its cries of pain mingling with the sound of crumbling stone. "Keep going!" Lena yelled, urging her crew onward as she maintained the sonic assault. They plunged into the narrow passage, the creature's roars fading behind them as they raced through the twisting corridors. The orb in Xander's hands pulsed with an eerie light, casting long shadows on the walls as they ran. Suddenly, the passage opened up into a vast cavern, a shimmering underground lake stretching out before them. The crew skidded to a halt, their chests heaving as they caught their breath. "Now what?" Ilara asked, her voice trembling. Lena scanned the cavern, her eyes landing on a small metallic object half buried in the sand near the water's edge. "There," she said, pointing to the object. "That looks like an emergency beacon. If we can activate it, the Celestia might be able to locate us and beam us out of here." Xander handed the orb to Ilara and raced over to the beacon, his fingers flying over its surface as he worked to bring it back to life. Moments later, the beacon began to emit a steady, pulsing light, and the crew let out a collective sigh of relief. But their respite was short-lived. A deafening roar echoed through the cavern, and the creature burst through the opening, its eyes fixed on the crew with a hungry intensity. Lena raised the sonic emitter once more, but the creature was too fast. It lashed out with a powerful blow, sending Lena flying across the cavern. She hit the ground hard, the sonic emitter clattering to the floor beside her. Xander and Ilara rushed to her side, helping her to her feet as the creature advanced, its massive form looming over them. Lena reached for the sonic emitter, but it was too far away, just out of reach. Just as the creature was about to strike, a blinding light filled the cavern, and the familiar hum of a transporter beam enveloped the crew. They felt the sensation of being pulled apart and put back together again, and then they were standing on the transporter pad of the Celestia, the artifact clutched tightly in Xander's hands. Captain Ilara rushed forward, her eyes wide with concern. "Are you all right?" she asked, taking in their battered and bruised appearance. Lena nodded, a weary smile on her face. "We got the artifact," she said, gesturing to the glowing orb. "But we also learned that there's more to this mission than meets the eye. That creature, and the technology we found, it's unlike anything we've ever encountered before." Alara's expression grew serious, and she nodded in understanding. "We'll debrief and analyze the artifact immediately. In the meantime, get yourselves to the med bay and get checked out. You've earned a rest." As the crew made their way out of the transporter room, Lena couldn't shake the feeling that their journey was far from over. They had secured the artifact, but the true nature of their mission remained shrouded in mystery. And with the knowledge of the advanced technology and the creature they had faced, Lena knew that the stakes were higher than ever before. But for now, they had succeeded, and that was enough. The crew of the Celestia had proven once again that humanity was a force to be reckoned with, and that no matter the odds, they would never stop fighting for their place among the stars. Chapter 9. Unraveling the Enigma. The soft hum of the Celestia's engines filled the air as Lena sat in the dimly lit cargo bay, the artifact resting on a table before her. She ran her fingers over its intricate surface, tracing the strange alien markings that seemed to dance in the pulsing light. The events of their narrow escape from the space station still fresh in her mind, Lena couldn't shake the feeling that this artifact held the key to unlocking the mysteries that lay ahead. The door to the cargo bay hissed open, and Xander strode in, a tablet in his hand. "I've been analyzing the data we collected from the space station," he said, his brow furrowed in concentration. "And I think I might have found something." Lena leaned forward, her eyes wide with curiosity. "What is it?" Xander tapped the screen, bringing up a series of complex diagrams and equations. The technology we encountered on that station, it's not just advanced, it's beyond anything we've ever seen. The materials, the energy signatures. It's almost as if it's not from our universe at all. A chill ran down Lena's spine as she considered the implications of Xander's words. Are you saying that the artifact and the creature, they're from another dimension? Xander nodded, his expression grave. It's a possibility we can't ignore. And if that's the case, then we need to be prepared for anything. We have no idea what other threats might be waiting for us out there. Lena turned back to the artifact, her mind racing with possibilities. We need to report this to Captain Alara. She'll want to know. Suddenly, the artifact began to pulse with a fierce, blinding light. Lena and Xander stumbled back, shielding their eyes as the light intensified, filling the entire cargo bay. A strange, otherworldly hum filled the air, growing louder and louder until it was almost deafening. And then, just as quickly as it had begun, the light and sound faded away, leaving Lena and Xander standing in stunned silence. The artifact lay dormant on the table, its surface now smooth and unmarked, as if the intricate patterns had never existed at all. What just happened? Lena asked, her voice trembling slightly. Xander shook his head, his eyes wide with disbelief. I don't know, but whatever it was, it can't be good. The intercom crackled to life, and Captain Alara's voice filled the cargo bay. Lena, Xander, report to the bridge immediately. We've detected an unknown energy signature on the long-range scanners, and it's headed straight for us. Lena and Xander exchanged a glance, the weight of their discovery hanging heavy in the air. They knew that whatever lay ahead, they would face it together, as a crew, as a family. As they raced towards the bridge, Lena couldn't help but feel a sense of excitement mingling with the fear and uncertainty. They were on the brink of something truly incredible, something that could change the course of human history. And no matter the dangers that lay ahead, she knew that the crew of the Celestia would stop at nothing to unravel the enigma that had fallen into their hands. The stars outside the viewport seemed to twinkle with a new intensity as the Celestia pushed forward into the unknown, ready to face whatever challenges the universe had in store. And through it all, the artifact remained at the center of the mystery, a silent guardian of secrets yet to be revealed. Chapter 10. Into the Unknown. As the crew of the Celestia gathered on the bridge, the tension in the air was palpable. Captain Alara stood at the helm, her eyes fixed on the view screen, where a strange energy signature pulsed ominously. Lena and Xander took their seats, their minds still reeling from the artifact's sudden activation. What do we know about this energy signature? Alara asked, her voice steady despite the growing sense of unease. It's unlike anything we've encountered before, Xander replied, his fingers flying across his console. It's not just a ship or a celestial object. It's almost as if it's a rift in space itself. Lena leaned forward, her brow furrowed in concentration. Could it be related to the artifact and the technology we found on the space station? Alara nodded, her expression grave. That's a possibility we can't ignore. We need to proceed with caution. Helmsman, maintain course and speed. Keep a safe distance from the anomaly until we can gather more information. As the crew worked to analyze the strange energy signature, the Celestia drew closer, the view screen filled with a swirling vortex of light and color. Suddenly, the ship shuddered violently, alarms blaring as the bridge was plunged into darkness. "Report!" Alara shouted, gripping the arms of her chair as the ship continued to shake. "We've been caught in some kind of gravitational field," Xander replied, his voice strained. "It's pulling us towards the anomaly." Lena's heart raced as she worked to divert power to the engines, desperate to break free from the inexorable pull. But it was no use. The Celestia was drawn closer and closer to the swirling vortex, the view screen now filled with a blinding white light. And then, just as suddenly as it had begun, the shaking stopped. The crew looked around in confusion, the bridge now eerily silent. The view screen cleared, revealing a sight that took their breath away. Before them lay a vast expanse of shimmering stars and nebulae, a celestial landscape unlike any they had ever seen. Towering structures of impossible architecture floated in the void, their surfaces pulsing with the same strange energy that had drawn them in.
Where are we?
Lena whispered, her eyes wide with wonder and disbelief.
I don't know,
Alara replied, her voice hushed. But one thing is certain. We're not in our own universe anymore. As the crew of the Celestia stared out at the alien landscape before them, a sense of both excitement and fear washed over them. They were explorers, pioneers on the frontiers of human knowledge. But they were also in uncharted territory, facing dangers and challenges beyond their wildest dreams. Lena's hand drifted to the artifact, now securely stored in the ship's hold. She knew that it held the key to understanding this strange new reality, and that they would stop at nothing to unravel its secrets. The Celestia pressed forward, a lone beacon of light in an ocean of stars. The crew stood united, ready to face whatever trials lay ahead. They were no longer just explorers. They were adventurers, voyagers on a journey into the very heart of the unknown. And as they sailed onward, the mysteries of the universe unfolding before them, one thing became clear. Their odyssey was only just beginning. Chapter 11. Echoes of the Void. The crew of the Celestia stared in awe at the alien landscape before them, a kaleidoscope of shimmering stars and nebulae stretching out into the infinite void. The impossible architecture that floated in the celestial expanse seemed to defy the very laws of physics, its surfaces pulsing with an otherworldly energy that both enticed and unsettled them. Captain Alara broke the silence, her voice steady and determined. Lena, Xander, I need you to analyze this environment. We must understand where we are and how we can navigate through this uncharted territory. Lena nodded, her fingers already dancing across her console. The energy readings are off the scale, Captain. It's as if this entire universe is composed of a different form of matter and energy than our own. Xander chimed in, his brow furrowed in concentration. I'm detecting strange fluctuations in the fabric of space-time. It's almost as if the laws of physics are different here, like the very rules of reality have been rewritten. As the crew worked to make sense of their new surroundings, a sudden burst of light erupted from one of the floating structures, bathing the Celestia in an eerie, pulsating glow. The ship shuddered, its systems momentarily flickering before stabilizing once more. What was that? Alara demanded, her eyes narrowing as she scanned the view screen for any signs of a threat. It seems to be some kind of energy pulse, Lena replied, her fingers flying across her console. But it's not like anything we've encountered before. It's almost as if it's alive. The crew exchanged uneasy glances, the weight of their discovery settling upon them like a shroud. They were no longer just explorers, but intruders in a realm that defied their understanding. As they pondered their next move, a strange, ethereal voice echoed through the bridge, its words resonating in their minds rather than their ears. Welcome, travelers from beyond the stars. You have journeyed far, guided by the ancient artifact that now rests within your vessel. Alara stood, her posture rigid as she addressed the disembodied voice. Who are you? Why have you brought us here? The voice replied, its tone both ancient and wise. I am the guardian of this realm, a being as old as the stars themselves. The artifact you carry is a key, a beacon that has drawn you to this place for a purpose greater than you can imagine. Lena's heart raced, her mind reeling with the implications of the Guardian's words. What purpose? What does the artifact truly mean? The artifact is a bridge, a conduit between worlds, the Guardian explained. It holds the power to unlock the secrets of the universe, to bring balance and harmony to all of creation. But it can also be a weapon, a tool of destruction in the wrong hands. The crew fell silent, the weight of their responsibility bearing down upon them. They had come so far, faced so many challenges, but now they stood on the precipice of a revelation that could change the course of history. "You must choose, travelers," the Guardian intoned, its voice fading into the void. "Will you be the bearers of light, or the harbingers of darkness? The fate of all worlds rests upon your shoulders." As the voice faded away, leaving only the hum of the ship's engines in its wake, the crew of the Celestia knew that their journey had only just begun. They were no longer just explorers, but guardians, entrusted with a power beyond their wildest dreams. And as they stood together, united in the face of the unknown, they knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them as one. For they were the crew of the Celestia, and their destiny was written in the stars. Chapter 12. The Final Frontier. The crew of the Celestia stood in silence, the weight of the Guardian's words hanging heavy in the air. They had come so far, faced so many challenges, but now they found themselves at a crossroads, the fate of all worlds resting upon their shoulders. Captain Alara stepped forward, her eyes blazing with determination. "We didn't come this far to be harbingers of darkness," she declared, her voice ringing out across the bridge. "We are explorers, seekers of knowledge and truth, and we will use this power to bring balance and harmony to the universe, no matter the cost." Lena and Xander exchanged a glance, their hearts swelling with pride at their captain's words. They knew that the road ahead would be fraught with danger, but they were ready to face whatever challenges lay before them. As if in response to Alara's declaration, the artifact began to glow, its light growing brighter and more intense with each passing moment. The crew shielded their eyes, the brilliance of the artifact's energy almost too much to bear. And then, as suddenly as it had begun, the light faded, revealing a shimmering portal before them. It was a gateway, a doorway to a realm beyond their wildest dreams. "This is it," Lena breathed, her eyes wide with wonder. "The final frontier?" Alara nodded, her gaze fixed upon the portal. "We've come this far," she said, her voice steady and calm. "We can't turn back now." With a deep breath, the captain stepped forward, leading her crew towards the shimmering gateway. They knew that whatever lay beyond, they would face it together, united in their quest for knowledge and understanding. As they passed through the portal, the crew found themselves in a realm of pure energy, a place where the very fabric of reality seemed to bend and twist around them. It was a place of infinite possibility, where the laws of physics held no sway. And there, at the center of it all, stood a being of pure light, its form shifting and changing with each passing moment. It was the Guardian, the ancient entity that had brought them to this place. "Welcome, travelers," the Guardian spoke, its voice echoing through the realm. "You have proven yourselves worthy of the power that you hold. Now, it is time for you to fulfill your destiny." The crew exchanged glances, their hearts racing with anticipation. They knew that whatever lay ahead, they would face it with courage and determination. And as they stepped forward, ready to embrace their fate, they knew that they were no longer just explorers, but guardians of the universe itself. They were the crew of the Celestia, and their journey had only just begun. With a flash of light, the crew found themselves back on the bridge of their ship, the artifact pulsing with energy in their hands. They had been changed by their experience, their minds expanded, and their hearts filled with a newfound sense of purpose. They knew that the road ahead would be long and difficult, but they were ready to face whatever challenges lay before them. For they were the crew of the Celestia, and their destiny was to bring balance and harmony to the universe, one star system at a time. As the ship sailed off into the endless expanse of space, the crew knew that they had found their true calling. They were explorers, seekers of knowledge and truth, and they would stop at nothing to unravel the mysteries of the universe. And so, the celestial Odyssey continued, a journey that would take them to the very edges of the cosmos and beyond. For the crew of the Celestia, the final frontier was just the beginning.